This is Piers Corbyn, the UK's most famous anti-vaxxer. He spent the last year claiming COVID is a hoax.
What we're seeing is some sort of flu that's been around for 46 years.
And is dedicated to campaigning against vaccines.
Bill Gates and others intended to inject the world.
Publishing leaflets stating all COVID jabs are dangerous, although that's not even his worst leaflet. Ultimately, he and other anti-vaxxers fly in the face of science and are putting people off life-saving vaccines.
And when they say deploy again, I say ping off.
But are these anti-vaxxers people of principle? To put this to the test, Archie and I offered Piers Corbyn a dodgy donation of £10,000, told him I was an investor in AstraZeneca, and that we'd like him to leave AstraZeneca alone and focus his anti-vaccine work on Pfizer and Moderna.
Focus on leaving AstraZeneca out of it wherever possible.
We'll focus on Pfizer and Moderna.
We started by using our brilliant PR firm Gelden Yap, headed up by Harry Bridges.
This is my business advisor.
Hi there, Harry Bridges from Gelden Yap.
Who emailed Mr. Corbyn pretending to represent a wealthy individual with a connection to a vaccine company who wanted to make a donation.
Now, in order to do this legally, because Piers Corbyn's not going to sign a consent form, we need to do this for real, which means for the first time ever in these videos, Josh is going to be called Josh Peters. And in order to say that he's got a shareholding in AstraZeneca, he really actually does need a shareholding in AstraZeneca.
So I'm on this app now where you can buy stocks and shares in companies, so we're going to go for AZM. £82.13 for a share at the moment. Let's go with £100.
How many shares does that get us? One share.
It's done.
Oh, brilliant. We are shareholders in AstraZeneca. That was easy. Wonderful. But Josh, well done.
Thank you very much.
Meanwhile, Mr. Corbyn was delighted to meet us, so Archie set a time to meet on London's Sloane Square, and I took out £10,000 to give him. There was just one problem.
Now, the problem is, this is quite a lot of money.
It's like all of our money.
So we didn't really want to give it to Piers Corbyn, and this is where the switch comes in. This is going to go into an envelope that we show Piers Corbyn.
Yeah.
Henry White, another magician who's a friend of mine, is then going to come while Ellie, Josh's girlfriend, is taking a photo with Piers Corbyn to switch the envelope containing this money with Josh.
Some Monopoly money.
Having put our Monopoly money and our real money into matching brown envelopes, we headed to the meeting.
Right, that's what we're on.
We set up our tables, briefed our extras, and hid our cameramen. Then, probably the most infectious man in Britain finally arrived.
Mr. Corbyn! Absolute pleasure to meet you.
True.
How are you?
Well, I'm very
Have a seat, have a seat.
We're glad to see you.
I've been seeing a lot of you lately all over different social
that's
medias
right.
and things.
And that Trafalgar Square on Saturday was...
That was amazing.
I wasn't lucky enough to be there, but it looked unbelievable.
Yeah. Would you like a pizza?
While Archie offered pizza, I got ready to offer dough.
My family business was restaurants, and then my father runs a very successful restaurant chain in South Africa. He actually started a fund in South Africa that I'm now a director of, so with his overseeing, I do some investments. One of our main interests, funnily enough, is actually we've got shareholdings in the AstraZeneca vaccine. Can you believe that? You know, it's not from a personal standpoint, it's more of a case of it's business, but yeah.
Piers didn't seem put off that I made money out of AstraZeneca, but shared some wacky views on the other vaccines.
Moderna and Pfizer give those magnetic things, don't they?
Yes.
Well, that is very, very scary.
I began to tease it a little.
But, you know, if we can obviously help in any way to help your campaign, that's obviously going to help us. We've got shared interests.
It clearly is. I mean, but, yeah, okay. No, absolutely.
We actually even brought along a little something today that was just a token of our intention of helping out with your campaign.
I was thinking.
So, yes.
Yeah, and we like to keep it off the book.
Showed him 10 grand in cash.
But this is obviously just a sort of statement of intent. We'd love to keep funding you. So there's £10,000 there.
That's astounding. I mean,
that
is brilliant.
It's quite rare to have £10,000 in
Excuse me, we don't want to announce that to the whole. That's just a bit from the safe.
Remarkably, Piers was delighted with the money made from the vaccine company, but claimed he couldn't be influenced.
Well, as long as I can accept it there's no insistence on any policy changes or anything that I'm doing.
But because we hadn't yet switched the money, we hadn't handed him the envelope. So we tested if he really couldn't be influenced.
And I appreciate you're not asking for a change of policy or anything, but if there is anything that can be done to focus a bit on Pfizer or Moderna, that would be
helpful for us.
A useful thing.
So, knowing that I was an investor in AstraZeneca with a financial interest in other vaccines doing badly, Piers Corbyn started writing down benefits of the AstraZeneca vaccine.
Okay, AZ, not a mRNA.
Yeah.
You know, just
Which is magnetic.
So
which is a fact, but
it is. I mean, you know, we're not saying change any policy, but if they could be slightly ignored more, that would obviously be helpful for us.
And said yeah to our request for AstraZeneca to be ignored. Now, of course, we weren't insisting on any policy changes, but it seems Mr. Corbyn was open to the idea of accepting our donation and focusing his efforts on Pfizer and Moderna. It was time for Archie and his magic mate Henry to switch the cash, with the help of my selfie-loving girlfriend.
I'll never report that.
Sorry, I'm really sorry to interrupt. Because I'm really good.
Oh,
Sorry.
I didn't know you were the celebrity.
I told you the meeting would take.
I know.
Oh, okay. All right. As long as you're not wearing a mask, Right.
Thank you. Sorry, my mum's
Well,
also.
is that all right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Where do we start?
Just his good.
Okay. You live right here?
Yeah.
Henry had passed go and collected £10,000, and we were ready to give Piers all the monopoly money a conspiracy theorist could ever want. It was time to talk more business.
You know, I'm not going to go into specifics, but we've done very well out of being in.
How much do you think you have made from it?
It's really, I mean, I don't think Dad would want me to say.
For the record, my AstraZeneca shares had made me 7 pence. But Piers thought AstraZeneca was going to make him £10,000, which might not be a great look. But luckily, Piers had a plan.
People ask where does this come from. I say it's somebody who's a businessman that runs a restaurant.
You wouldn't say it comes straight from AstraZeneca, even though it has. Yeah, because I mean, technically it kind of has, but we don't have to say that.
I mean, I suppose going forward, it's just that sort of focus on leaving AstraZeneca out of it wherever possible. We appreciate that's not.
We can't have a full policy change, but
No.
we'll focus on Pfizer and Moderna and.
Well, it'll happen anyway, but without any interference. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's
Brilliant.
I think that'll be fair. Where's that money gone, by the way?
Oh, I've got it.
Okay.
I've got it. Don't worry. Keeping it safe.
So apparently, the idea that anti-vaxxers will focus on Pfizer and Moderna will now happen anyway, which obviously has nothing to do with our donation. It was time for a quick selfie and a transfer of cold, hard monopoly money. Whether people choose to get a vaccine or not is entirely their business. But listening to people that spread misinformation about vaccines, particularly when they're accepting £10,000 made from vaccines, is perhaps a different matter altogether.